The cold steel of the handcuffs bit into the woman's wrists as Officer Jacob Manning gave them an extra twist, tightening them beyond necessity. The bright, sterile lights of the international terminal reflected off his badge as he sneered, loud enough for anyone nearby to hear. "People like you don't belong in first class anyway," he said, the disdain in his voice unmistakable. Dr. Maya Collins didn't flinch. Harvard-educated, a renowned international human rights attorney, philanthropist, and founder of a globally recognized medical outreach foundation, Maya met Officer Manning's gaze directly, her expression composed and fearless. Around them, travelers had stopped, many raising their phones to record what was happening. Manning tightened the cuffs again. It was a small, deliberate cruelty, one he had perfected over years of wielding authority with impunity. It was about showing power, making someone uncomfortable without leaving visible marks. "You're making a mistake," Maya said, her voice calm but firm. "One you're going to regret very soon." Manning chuckled, dismissive. To him, she was just another black woman who needed to be put in her place. He had no idea who she really was. No clue that the woman he was humiliating wasn't just another traveler. No clue that his decision, made on prejudice rather than judgment, would soon end his career and spark a reckoning he never saw coming. But he was about to find out. Before she found herself standing handcuffed in an airport terminal, Dr. Maya Collins had been quietly going about her morning. At 32, she exuded a quiet confidence earned through years of overcoming adversity. That crisp autumn morning, in her elegant but modest home in the suburbs of Atlanta, she prepared for her humanitarian mission to South Sudan. The sunlight filtered through large bay windows as she meticulously packed medical supplies, antibiotics, vaccines, and specialized equipment her foundation was donating to understaffed clinics in remote areas. These were life-saving materials, supplies that could prevent the deaths of hundreds of children. As she zipped up her carry-on, her phone chimed with a familiar ringtone, the one she'd assigned to her husband, Adrian. The screen lit up with a photo of them together in Kenya, where they had helped open a women's clinic the previous year. Even after 12 years of marriage, Adrian still looked at her like he had when they first met at Harvard, both of them young, broke, and filled with determination. "How's my favorite world changer?" Adrian asked when she answered. "Packed and ready," Maya replied, smiling at the sound of his voice. "This shipment of meds should make a huge difference. The director of the camp says they've been out of basic antibiotics for nearly a month. I wish I could be there with you," Adrian said with regret. But the meeting with the board couldn't be moved, and the deal with the EU routes needs final approval. Adrian Collins wasn't just her husband. He was the founder and CEO of Zenith Airways, one of the world's fastest-growing airlines. He had built the company from the ground up, starting as a baggage handler while putting himself through night school, and now his airline had over 400 aircraft and employed more than 20,000 people worldwide. "I'll be fine," Maya assured him. "You'll be there for the clinic opening next month. That's the celebration. I've arranged for Jerome to meet you in Paris," Adrian added. Jerome was Zenith station manager at Charles de Gaulle. "He'll make sure your connection and supplies are handled without delay." "You don't have to do that," Maya said, though she appreciated the gesture. "I'm not helpless, you know." "I know," Adrian replied. "But you're important to me and to thousands of people who depend on you." This was her life. She preferred anonymity. Even though she was married to an airline mogul, she often flew economy, believing in experiencing travel like everyone else. But this trip was different. It was long, and she had important work ahead, so she allowed herself the small luxury of a first-class ticket. The car that arrived to take her to the airport wasn't a limo, but a simple sedan driven by Terrence, a man who had worked with them for years. Maya double-checked her documents, passport, vaccination records, foundation credentials, before taking a deep breath and setting off. What she didn't know was that the most difficult part of her journey wasn't waiting for her in South Sudan. It was waiting for her at the security checkpoint of a major American airport. Maya arrived at Atlanta International Terminal B, a place she had passed through countless times before. She approached the Zenith Airways counter, presented her documents, and confirmed her seat, to a first class to Paris with a connection to Juba. The agent, a young man named Trevor, glanced at her, then at his screen. His eyes flickered with something Maya had seen before. First class? He questioned, as if he doubted his own screen. Are you sure this is correct? Yes, Maya replied calmly, sliding her confirmation toward him. I'm sure. Trevor's fingers hovered over his keyboard. And how will you be paying for additional baggage or in-flight purchases? I won't need anything extra, Maya said, her voice steady. I'm within the first-class allowance. Nearby, another agent greeted a white businessman in a rumpled suit. Welcome back, Mr. Stevens. Flying to London? Let's get you settled in the lounge. No questions. No second looks. Maya took her boarding pass and made her way towards security. That's when she saw him. Officer Jacob Manning. He stood with the air of someone who enjoyed the authority of his badge a little too much. She watched as he waved white families and businessmen into the priority screening lane with a smile. When Maya presented her first-class boarding pass, Manning's demeanor changed. He blocked her path with an outstretched arm. Regular screening is that way, he said, pointing toward the longer line. I have priority access, Maya said, showing her ticket. We need to verify that, Manning replied without glancing at it. Step aside. Maya took a breath. You didn't verify anyone else's ticket. Manning's expression hardened. Are you accusing me of something? I'm making an observation, Maya replied evenly. Their exchange drew attention. Karen Brooks, a supervisor, approached. Is there an issue? I'd like to report discriminatory treatment, Maya said calmly. I've been denied access to the priority lane, unlike others with the same documentation. Brooks didn't even glance at Maya's ticket. Officer Manning follows protocol. Random selection. Maya raised an eyebrow. I've observed for 10 minutes. There's nothing random about it. Brooks' tone sharpened. Questioning security can be flagged as suspicious behavior. With tacit approval, Manning directed Maya to a separate screening area. He searched her belongings with deliberate slowness, making comments along the way. That's a lot of medication, he said, holding up a box of antibiotics. They're for a refugee camp, Maya replied. I have documentation. Humanitarian work in first class, he remarked. Interesting use of donor funds. My travel class isn't your concern, Maya said, patience thinning but still composed. As he continued, Manning grew bolder. I've been doing this job 15 years. First class is for people who can afford it, not people like you. There it was. The mask dropped. Maya took a slow breath. I want to speak to your supervisor. She's busy, Manning said. Then I want her supervisor. You're becoming disruptive, he warned. Interfering with security is a federal offense. The threat hung heavy in the air. Maya's response was precise. I know my rights. Your comments are discriminatory. You people always think you know your rights, Manning snapped. Always ready to play the race card. You people, Maya repeated. The phrase echoed. Manning realized his mistake too late. His face twisted in anger as he reached for his handcuffs. You're under arrest, he announced. Disorderly conduct. Phones filmed everything as Manning handcuffed Maya tightly, tightening the cuffs with a petty flourish. As Manning smugly gathered her belongings, Maya spoke calmly. Before you formally arrest me, I'd like to make one call. This isn't TV, Manning mocked. You don't get a call. I haven't been arrested yet, Maya said. One call. She pulled out her phone and dialed. Adrian, Terminal B, Security Checkpoint 7. Officer Jacob Manning is detaining me. I'm Phoenix. There are witnesses. See you soon. Manning rolled his eyes. Your husband won't help you. What he didn't know was that Adrian Collins was already leaving a meeting with the governor, and he was on his way. Within minutes, the terminal buzzed. Supervisors whispered into radios. Managers appeared. Karen Brooks paled as she listened to her earpiece. Release her. Now, she whispered to Manning. I'm doing my job, he snapped. Now, she insisted. Lieutenant Harold Davis arrived. Officer Manning, stand down. She was interfering. Remove the handcuffs. Immediately. Manning complied. Maya rubbed her wrists. I apologize, Dior. Collins, Davis said. Your husband is arriving. Manning frowned. Who the hell is her husband? Before Davis could answer, the crowd parted. Adrian Collins entered, surrounded by legal counsel and Zenith executives. Manning's world collapsed. Adrian's voice was calm but cold. You handcuffed my wife. Sir, I didn't know. You knew enough to say people like her don't belong. Manning's career ended that day. But Maya wasn't interested in revenge. She demanded reforms. Body cameras, anti-bias training, transparent complaint processes. 6 months later, the terminal was different. Procedures had changed. Manning worked in community relations, humbled. Maya's foundation expanded. So did their mission. And at the terminal gate, the words etched in glass told a new story. Everyone deserves first-class respect. If you enjoyed this story, like and subscribe for more powerful true-life narratives. Where are you watching from? Share your thoughts below. See you in the next story.